I've explained many times that three-step process in the Aussie Speeding Fines book. You would start just by using that general three-step process. Okay, we've covered that on other videos, so I'm not going to go through it in any more detail, but it just super quickly for anyone who might be new to these videos, that process, that three-step process, just essentially asks any agency that has issued you a fine just to simply provide evidence that that fine is part of a valid and lawfully enacted act, which of course simply isn't the case because there's been no head of power since 1973, since the removal of the true Queen and the creation of that adopted title or pretended title, whatever you want to call it, of that Queen of Australia. Now, if you don't understand what any of that means, if that all went over your head, please grab a copy of that Aussie Speeding Fines book. You will find a link in the description because that explains all of that in detail. Now, in regards to those specific fines, though, these camera detected mobile phone fines, it's actually even simpler than all of that. Because of course, if one of those fines was to proceed to court, if they didn't take on board that three-step process from the Aussie Speeding Fine system and they wanted to escalate it to court, then they would need to tender a copy of that photograph as evidence against you. Now again, as the Aussie Speeding Fines guys explain in their book, for any camera fine, okay, for them to be able to rely on that photo as evidence, they have to be able to provide evidence that the photo could not have been altered or tampered with in any way. Otherwise, it simply can't be used as evidence against you. Now, they might claim that they use some sort of secure MD5 algorithm, to ensure that the photos aren't altered in any way. But of course, as I've explained on these videos and in our live events and all the rest of it many times, any security code that is made by man or woman, we're not sexist here, okay, can be broken by man or woman. It's not possible to make an unbreakable code. Okay, so all you need to do is just jump online, whatever your preferred search engine is, just search for MD5 algorithm crack, and you'll find hundreds and hundreds of listings which give you very simple instructions on how that supposedly secure algorithm can be very easily cracked by anyone with even basic computer skills. So here's the thing though, when it comes to these specific fines, these camera detected mobile phone fines, there's simply no way that they can tell that whether it's actually a phone sitting on your lap or whether it might be something completely different. It might be a wallet. It might be a phone-shaped cookie. I'm sure some of you remember the stories of the people that were driving around with phone-shaped cookies just to upset some police officers and stuff. Okay, so the only way they can establish exactly what it is by zooming in or enhancing the photo, which of course is exactly what they do. But the problem is, by enhancing the photo, they're automatically admitting to altering it or tampering with it, so it can no longer actually be used as evidence against you. And of course, without that evidence, there's simply no case to answer. Now, the other issue with these fines, again, like other camera detected fines, is that there's no informant. There's no true informant. Okay. Now, I mentioned in the last video how the cops, especially in Melbourne, and I'm sure they like to do it in other cities too, they like to ride between the traffic on their bikes, especially near intersections, and they peer into people's cars and see who's touching their phone while they're waiting for the lights. Well, that's all good and well, because if they actually see someone touching their phone or using their phone or whatever, then of course, if you took it to court, they'd have to turn up in court and they would have to testify to what they actually saw, and you of course would get an opportunity to cross-examine them. Are you sure it was a phone that I was touching? Are you sure I was using a phone, or whatever it may be? But with these new camera-based fines, who exactly is the informant? Okay, who's the one that actually saw you using the phone? Well, of course, it can only be the camera. So you just simply ask the magistrate if the prosecutor intends to put the true informant on the stand and make them available for cross-examination, or whether they intend to deny you natural justice. Okay, they've got one of two options. They can put the true informant on the stand, which obviously they can't bring the camera in, put on the stand, or they're going to deny you natural justice. Well, they're not going to deny you natural justice, so they've only got one other option, which is to dismiss the charge. So if you like that concept of backing the system, whether it's the police or the banks or the government or the courts or whatever, if you like that concept of backing them into a corner and giving them one of only two options, or either one you're happy with, then please make sure you grab a copy, okay, of that home study course, because we go through a whole heap of examples of exactly how to do that. We cover all the information, and then as we get into the Saturday afternoon and the Sunday, we go through and we explain step by step how you use that information to back them into a corner, so the only way out is an option that you're going to be happy with.